Hello and welcome to All Things Foster, a place for coffee, connection, and community. I'm Matt Darrah, your host. We've got Rory Shepherd on with us today. Thank you for coming.
You bet.
Thank you to our episode sponsor, Bracken Hochstein from XL Construction Group. Bracken Hochstein is a consultant manager at XL Construction Group, bringing a wealth of experience in construction and customer service to every project he takes on. Based in West Texas, Bracken specializes in helping homeowners and businesses navigate their roofing needs with confidence and clarity. At XL Construction Group, Bracken works closely with clients to evaluate roofing concerns, recommend the best solutions, and ensure projects are completed efficiently and to the highest standard. Known for his reliability and honest communication, he has become a go-to expert for those seeking trusted guidance. With recent storms impacting the West Texas region, Bracken is committed to helping residents assess damage and get the repairs they need. He understands how stressful storm damage can be and is here to support customers every step of the way. If you're looking for expert help with your roof, Bracken Hochstein is ready to provide the solutions and service you deserve. Check them out online at www.xlcg.com. Hochstein. Today's episode is called Managing Mental and Emotional Health in Foster Families. And guys, we know that this is a difficult conversation. We're dealing with lots of stress, and we've got to figure out ways to balance our mental and emotional health. And so we've got Rory on today. Rory's the owner of Action Coach West Texas, and I'll tell you that I worked with Rory last summer, fall, and it was absolutely some of the best spent money that we as an organization and I personally have had. It really set us up. When I left my job, it set us up right at the beginning with some tools and some guidance that's really helped just grow POCN in this just amazing way. And personally, I've put into some practice some of the things that Rory and I are going to talk about today, and they help me. We'll talk about this more, but I've got this here because I go through this every morning and then in the afternoon and then throughout the day, and it really, really helps me. And so, Rory, thanks for coming on today. I'm super glad that you're here.
Me too.
Yeah. We've got some heavy stuff to talk about today, but Rory's got some tools that are really that potentially, if you'll put them into practice, can really help.
Yeah, so I think first I would say that each and every one of us, whether we're in the foster program or not, right? I mean, we go from high stress levels to moments maybe of lower stress, right? But stress is consistent or constant for us. And a lot of folks, and it probably got put on steroids when we went through the pandemic.
Right.
And I'm not sure we've ever gone back.
Yeah.
But if you look at it, we talk more about burnout. We talk about stress. We talk about depression. I mean, all those things are way more in the forefront today than they've ever been. Now, I personally say that it's not just, stress, but I have 3 stages that I talk about, and it starts with tired, and then we go to depleted, and then we go to burned out.
Right.
And there's warning signs and kind of early signs that we can see or hear about ourselves in those stages that if we listen, we've got a chance to catch it at depleted and never get to burned out.
Sure.
And I think it's even more so for foster families in the space where if I got to the spot where I'm close to burned out, then I've got a whole other host of issues that I've got to deal with, right? I can't just call the neighbor and say, can you come babysit the kids, right? I mean, I've got to have approved babysitters. There's a whole other set of processes that you have to go through. And so being aware, but then putting it in systems and processes early is even more important in the foster family space,
Absolutely.
probably in any space.
Yeah.
And I would say, don't wait until you start to feel shaky
Right.
to start doing something, because it's too late. Because you don't have the reaction time that a normal biological family has, right?
Yeah.
That's unfortunate, but that's the space we're in.
That's the reality. Yeah.
And so you need to do some things up front to get to get that care in process before you need it.
Absolutely. Yep. So before we dig into that, tell us a little bit about you. Tell us kind of how you got to coaching and helping and stuff like that.
Yeah, sure. I'll do the short version, hopefully. So I was born and raised in Spearman, and then came to Amarillo, and I had the opportunity to work at Hastings Books and Records when it was Hastings Books and Records.
There.
Right?
Yeah.
I was there for almost 5 years, and then I got a chance to move to San Antonio to work for a business called Builder Square.
I remember it.
Yeah, that they had just gone through a transition from family owned to kind of corporate owned, and we went from 5 stores to about 170 stores.
Wow.
In about 10 years.
10 years, golly.
Yeah. So super high growth, great organization, great opportunity to work there. Problem was we were wholly owned by Kmart. And if you remember Kmart, back
Blue
in
Light Special.
back in the day, they did a great job of the business model and things that they did with organizations like Builder Square, but they did not do a good job with Kmart. And so actually, I was one of the last 42 employees at Builder Square. We shut the whole operation down. We went from almost 800 people in the corporate office to 42.
Wow.
In about 8 months.
Goodness.
Yeah, it was kind of crazy. But then I spent 15 years at H-E-B Grocery. Started off in IT and moved to finance and accounting. Had quite a few roles while I was at H-E-B. Thought I would stay there my whole corporate career, but I moved over to Whataburger and spent my last 7 years in the corporate space on the executive team at Whataburger. And so through that period, whether it was at H-E-B or at Whataburger, I spent a lot of time doing staff development, mentor programs, coaching, training, kind of all the stuff that I do today full time. I was doing as a kind of a side passion and things that were going on inside that corporate space.
Yeah.
My mom was 89 years old, still living on the family farm in Spearman. It was time for us to get back up here.
Yeah.
And so I was at a good spot at Whataburger. And so I left. I guess you could say I retired, but I didn't ever stop working.
Right.
But I left Whataburger and came up here and started a coaching business, working with, I've got a number of clients that are in the family business space, a number of clients that are in the nonprofit space, and then do kind of the CEO and executive coaching for folks in that kind of mid business, the $10 to $200 million annual income kind of range. That's
so helping folks navigate leadership and just life really for a long, long time.
Yeah, and I think we can say there's business coaching, but nearly every one of those conversations ends up something on the personal side.
Absolutely.
Right. I mean, I'd say it took me a while to figure out that I'm just one person. So I can't separate home life from church life from business life.
Right.
And those lines are very blurry all the time. And if I try to keep that separate, I'm gonna slip up and make mistakes.
Absolutely.
And so if you can realize that any work that you're doing is all about you personally and how do I get better as an individual? How do I improve my character? How do I do work on my faith? That helps in the business space. That helps in the nonprofit executive directors. That'll help in the foster space.
Yeah, definitely will.
Yeah.
Yeah. Wow. Yeah. So all that to say, Rory knows what he's talking about. He's been super, super great for us and even nonprofits. Rory is teaching some leadership classes with Allie at Amarillo Community Village, helping other nonprofit leaders. That's where this conversation came from. is Rory gave a talk on this about a month ago.
Yeah, probably.
And I was sitting there thinking foster families could use this information because they're working. I mean, it's a job.
Yes.
Like fostering's a job. I mean,
On
yes,
top of the job.
On top of the job. Yeah, parenting the kid is the job, but then there's like all this other stuff that's involved. And so it's a job that you can't leave.
Right.
Right. It's not a 40-hour job.
Yeah, it's 168. Right?
Every day, every hour, every minute. Yeah. And so I was sitting there personally taking in what Rory was saying and then sitting there thinking, man, I really think that foster families, because I talked to a lot of foster families, and they're like, oh my gosh, I'm so burned out. I'm so exhausted. I don't know what to do.
Right.
And so, yeah, if we can see where we're at, see where we're headed, and maybe change that trajectory. Right.
Yeah. How do I catch it sooner?
Yes.
Because there is a cliff, right? And so the closer I get to the cliff, the harder it is to stop.
Yep.
The harder it is to catch myself before I go off. How do I start recognizing what are those early warning signs, and what do I do physically, mentally, emotionally to slow the progress down or slow that process down? Yeah. So I put this together, I don't know, a year and a half or so ago because of conversations just like that. Working with leaders, talking to teams just about, what happens when, right? Or how do we start to recognize those concerns, one, and then two, what are the things that I should be doing in a self-care space to slow that progress down?
Yeah.
And so originally it started with a simple survey. And so we built a basically 12-question, kind of 4 key topic survey, but really trying to get, based on your answers across physical, mental, emotional kind of spaces, where are you in that, back to tired, depleted, burned out? So that then you could say, if that's where I am, what do I need to do?
Exactly.
And so originally it was just the survey, and then back to your journal, this Anchor Points journal is, really kind of my best thinking over 35 years of trying to do time management, team management, those kind of things. But the more and more I played with it, the more it moved over to what is really kind of the left side of the page on a daily basis around gratitude and prayer and, meditation, reflection, scriptural reading. And so from a self-care point of view, absolutely don't say that you've got to follow my method, but I think my method's pretty good.
It is.
But so then we went out and found, what are 2 or 3 other kind of self-care frameworks, because it's very similar to, you hear people say, what's the best diet, right? Or what's the best translation of the Bible?
Right.
Well, it's the diet you'll follow. It's the translation that you'll read, right? And the same thing is true for self-care frameworks.
Absolutely.
It's the one that you'll follow, right? And so I've got one that I like, but I'll give you, 3 others that you can kind of pick and choose from and go, I like that one better, or that resonates with me in a different way.
Sure. Yeah. So let's start with, walk us through the progression: tired, depleted, burned out. What does that look like?
Yeah. So if you think about when I say I'm tired, right? I mean, most of the time that's from physical or mental exhaustion, right? And it's just that, and kind of the key for that one is that if I take a weekend off, take a nap on a Sunday afternoon, right? I'm a little more refreshed. I bounce back, right? I'm more resilient if it's just tired.
Sure.
But in that space, it's intense focus, intense activity, and I can just say I'm tired, right? And one of the things that we talk about when I do this with teams is, do you wake up in the morning and you say, I'm as tired as I was when I went to bed, right? I mean, then I'm on the border of moving from tired into depleted, right? If when I wake up in the morning and I say, oh, I'm refreshed, I regenerated, I'm good to go, right? Well, then I was probably just tired, right? But if it's, no, I'm just as tired or even more tired when I wake up than I was when I went to bed, then I'm moving over into depleted. And depleted is that space where it's more persistent. It's a deeper form of exhaustion. And you probably need a week's vacation, right? It's not a weekend.
Yeah.
It's vacation time. I need to not focus as intensely on those things, right? And so then if I take that into the foster space, depleted is almost at a panic spot,
Right.
Because
what do I do now?
How am I going to take a week off?
Yeah.
Right? I mean, I can't just check out for a week.
Yeah.
And so
Then you're on the phone calling, trying to find somebody to do respite for you for a few days.
right.
Yeah.
Yeah. And even after a few days, I'm not recovered. Right. And so because there's a compound effect that happens. And then the third one is burned out. And I think we overuse that word.
Yeah.
But I do think because in that space, there's not a way to recover without me, taking time off from work, right? And it's probably a sabbatical. It's probably 1 month or 2 months off, right? I probably can't recover on my own.
Yeah.
I need to seek counseling. I need to talk to my pastor. That's a deeper space to be. And again, I think we overuse the word, but I think there's a lot of us that are on the edge between depleted and burned out a lot of our time.
Yeah.
Right. And so when I start getting on that teeter-totter of going from depleted into burned out, it's a tough place.
It's very tough. And that's where I was at last spring.
Yeah.
I mean, that's absolutely, I was working full time. I was running a nonprofit, trying to be a dad, trying to be a grandpa. Mom and dad had both passed. I mean, I was just at a point I couldn't keep it. I couldn't keep doing what I'd been doing. And thankfully I was able to take a leave of absence from work and really, really rest and really, I was going to counselor twice a week, instead of just once a week.
Right.
And really reevaluating where I'm at and where do I want to go and what do I do? Do I go back to doing what I was doing or do I change something?
Yeah, and I remember those conversations, right? I mean, as we went through, that end of May last year, end of June, right? And you were at that spot of making that decision, right? And in your case, I mean, there was a ton of relief when you got to the decision, right? And just said, I don't know what this means, but this is what Nikki and I have decided.
Yep.
You saw the weight just come off your shoulders, right?
Yeah.
I mean, and it was, I'm scared to death because I don't know what this means. But I've made the decision.
The decision's made, and we're moving forward. Yeah.
Right. Yeah. And I think that, but you were in that teeter-totter,
Absolutely.
right? Moving back and
Absolutely.
forth, right?
Yeah.
And if had you not taken the time, right, you could have gone off that cliff.
Absolutely.
Right?
Yeah. So you've got to look at where you're at, and Rory's got an assessment tool, and we're gonna put the link to that in the show notes so that you can go there and take that. And that's, if you're honest about it, that's going to tell you, am I tired? Am I depleted, or am I burned out? Right.
And it's going to say you are most likely in a healthy state. You're most likely in a tired state because, again, how I feel this very moment changes the way I answer the questions.
Yep.
Right. So I could be really down today, right, and say I'm on the very high end of depleted when I'm probably closer to the lower end of depleted.
Yeah.
But yes, it's going to give you an indication.
Yeah.
But also in that packet, so you'll have the assessment, but then you'll have the things that we're talking about definitions of tired, depleted, burned out, early warning signs. All that will be in the packet that you can download. Take the assessment. It's free, but it's a great resource for you to get started.
Yeah, it's not a diagnostic tool, right? Nope. It's a helpful tool to figure out kind of where I'm at, and then so once they've figured out where they're at, what do we do now?
Yeah, so there are some frameworks, and I've got 4 kind of self-care frameworks that, again, I give them to you to kind of look through and choose and pick the best parts of it. But an early kind of super simple set of questions that your counselor was probably asking you twice a week when you were going to see him, right? Or sometimes even when I'm taking that assessment, and I go, holy cow, it says I'm burned out. I've got 5 very simple questions that a lot of analysts, psychoanalysts, counselors use that are just simple. Where am I right now? And it's simple things like, when did I last eat? Right? I mean, it's 3:00 in the afternoon. I haven't eaten today. Well, guess what? Right? I mean, you're running on empty.
Yep.
Right? How have I done with hydration today? Have I been drinking only coffee? Am I drinking water? Am I drinking sodas? Right? I need to be drinking water. Right?
Yeah.
I mean, we all know that, but we don't do it.
Right.
When was the last time you exercised? Right? I mean, our bodies are built to burn off energy other than just sitting behind a desk all day.
Yeah.
And all the research now says I need to be moving every day, and it's best if I move before 2:00. So even if it's just rolling out of the bed, hitting the floor and doing 40 push-ups, right?
Yeah.
I mean, I need to do something to get my heart rate up a little bit, get some, blood pumping through me on a daily basis. And early is better.
Yeah, we had a chiropractor come on a couple weeks ago, and she was talking about how like 90% of the nutrition to your brain comes from movement. You got to be moving to get your brain going, release those endorphins and all the things. Yeah.
So if I pre-prime that plump early, right, by doing something right as I roll out of bed, that helps. The next one is, how much time have I spent on technology? Right, and this is harder and harder for us to stay away from. Another question, if I go back to, and the last one is, what are your sleep patterns? And those two are so related. I have conversations, did an event for a nonprofit on Saturday, and the question was, if I have trouble going to sleep, what would you suggest? And I was like, get off technology 2 hours before you go to bed. And they went, wait, what? 2 hours? I'm like, yeah. I mean, you got to get off the screens.
Yeah.
Right. I mean, and wind down before you go to sleep.
Yeah.
Now, 2 hours, that may be too much for you, but at least 30 minutes before you go to bed, you should not be on your phone, watching TV, those kind of things, because you've got to ramp down so that you can sleep. And then we don't get enough sleep. And in this space of childcare and foster care and trying to work, you've got to figure out a way to get more sleep on a consistent basis.
Yeah.
And even if it's not 7.5 to 8.5 hours, I need to be going to bed at the same time and getting up at the same time. That is a very, very positive thing for sleep patterns and recovery, is if your body knows when you're going to bed and your body knows when you're getting up.
Your routines. I mean, it's again, with the chiropractor last week, the kids need the routine. Yeah. They desperately need. We go to bed at the same time, we get up at the same time. We go to the bed at the same time, we get up at the it helps everything to have that routine, to be consistent, and to build that resilience. And we need it just as much.
Yes. Yeah. We are, I mean, God made us as creatures of routine and habit. And with all the advents of central heat, central air, lights, right? I mean, all that kind of stuff. I mean, we've been cheating what nature had built into it around, when am I supposed to go to bed and when am I supposed to get up?
Yeah.
Right. I mean, just go on a camping trip.
Yeah.
Right. I mean, it gets to 8 o'clock and it's time to go to bed because it's dark. Right.
Yeah.
I don't have a choice. Right.
Yeah.
I mean, there's nothing else for me to do, but I need to build that in to my kids' lives, my life. But those 5 simple questions, right? When did I eat? Am I hydrating? Right. When did I exercise? How have I done with technology today? And what are my sleep patterns? Those 5 things all flow into these self-care models or frameworks that we're going to talk about.
Yeah.
But those are kind of foundational and key. And if I can just answer those 5 questions in a way, consistently in a positive way, I'm probably moving into a space that's better for me.
Sure.
Yeah.
Okay. So, let's see. We talked about we talked about the assessment tool. We're going to have it in the show notes. We talked about the 5 questions, scoring stage to identify and adjust accordingly. We talked about that. Okay. So, like I said, I was right on the edge of burnout last spring, and was in a place where we were at a place, both financially and everything, that I could take that break. But we're not. Not everybody can do that. Like we talked about, foster parents can't just step away for a month, and so we've defined where we are. What do we do moving forward? Let's talk about those different ways of taking care of our mental health.
Yeah. So I think again, knowing where I am is the first step, but then that doesn't fix anything, right? And so, and the one thing that we need to be very cautious of is that these are not overnight fixes.
No.
Right. So I need to establish disciplines in my life so that I can go through those rougher spots, because I've got routine, I've got consistency, I've got discipline. But then I also need to call out the way you're wired. There are things that you can do that give you a recharge or give you energy, right? So for me, it's being outside, right? It's working outside, doing manual labor, right? Running a chainsaw, right? I mean, those kind of things, even though it's manual labor and you would think, right, that's expending more energy. Why would you do that? I need to expend that energy so that I can get more energy.
Yeah.
But what are those things for you? It may be reading or writing or painting or going for a walk, right? But what is it that you need to do when you start to feel in the pit of your stomach or somewhere in your body that the anxiety's up, stress is up? I need a release valve. What is that for you?
Yeah.
So with that said, we're going to walk through some models, not trying to memorize anything or do anything. You're going to get it in the packet if you do the download. The model that my journal is kind of loosely based on, is the 3 M's model. That's mindset, meditation, and motion. Because I believe those 3 are pretty simple and foundational things that I get, I understand, and I can move forward with those in a pretty positive way. And so on the mindset piece, the 2 key pieces for me, one is gratitude and the other is identity statements. And so what those 2 anchors for me, from a gratitude point of view, I know that the most powerful positive emotion that I can feel is gratitude.
Right.
And so I need to spend, 2 minutes, 5 minutes, 10 minutes a day stopping and just saying, these are things that I'm grateful for. Right. And that simple act regrounds me, resets me, puts me in a position to think about others, think about other things, as opposed to just all about me. And then from an identity point of view, we use what we call I am statements. But, I say all the time that the world does a pretty good job of beating you up.
Yeah.
And so you need to take, control of reaffirming yourself and saying those things that are positive about you, or those things that you want to achieve. And so I do both short-term and long-term identity statements. On a daily basis, I'm doing short-term identity statements in the morning. I'm looking at my calendar for the day, those things that I'm doing, and my statements could be completely different one day to the next,
right,
depending on what I'm doing that day. If I'm going to be on stage doing presentations, in front of a crowd, my I am statements that day may be I'm energized and energetic, right? I'm enthusiastic, right? I mean, I need to be saying those things so that I get geared up for that day. On other days, it may be, I'm disciplined, I'm focused, I'm a person of action, right? What are those things I need to say about me today so that I can do the things that I need to do? But that mindset piece is so critical, and it's how I start my day. The second M is meditation, and so I put meditation and prayer together. So the next step for me is, and it goes a little bit back to gratitude, I'm going to acknowledge those answered prayers today. And then I'm going to think about the people in my family I need to be praying for today. I'm going to think about others that I should be praying for today. And then short-term and long-term prayers. I'm taking time every day to do that activity. But the going back and realizing those things that I prayed for yesterday or last week or last month, just 30 seconds to go, oh, yeah. Right? I mean,
You got that. That happened.
I got that. Yeah, exactly. I tell a story about my mother that, she was a classic worrier, right? And so one of the things that she always said was, don't tell me that worrying doesn't work, because nothing I ever worry about ever comes true, right? So is that a source of answered prayer? Well, absolutely, right? I mean, if I'm spending time, I need to change worry to prayer, right? And give that over.
Yeah.
When I do, right? And then it does not come to pass, I need to stop and say thank you.
Absolutely.
Right. And so short-term and long-term prayers. And then, what scripture am I reading and what kind of key notes or key takeaways do I have from that? So that's that meditation piece. And then the third piece is motion. And so what are you doing, whether it's cardio, strength, flexibility, functional training, am I engaged in those on a daily basis? And if so, what are they? So that I can go back and see, because that's a key thing for me is if I go back and look at a week and say, this week wasn't that good, and I look down and I see, well, I only exercised twice. Well, I'm pretty sure that if I'd exercised 5 out of 7 days, I would have been in a much better place than only 2.
Right.
Yeah, so that's that first model. And if some people go, man, that sounds like a lot. And it can be. But truly, I could do every bit of that, or at least stop and say my gratitude statements and answered prayers, right? Maybe read the verse of the day on my phone app as opposed to reading something. But I can do all that in less than 5 minutes.
Yep.
Right?
Yep.
And if you say you don't have 5 minutes, I'm going to tell you need to take an hour. Right?
Yeah, right.
Because if you don't have any margin in your life, that you're on the path to go from depleted to burned out.
Yep.
Right. I need to figure out a way to carve out and prioritize these things to be the most important.
Yeah. And so getting to that, this little book, I filled this out this morning, and it's on my calendar and a recurring every day at 8:30 to do this. And so Rory has developed this, and again, the gratitude statements, the I ams, and all the things. It's a powerful tool. So Rory is being kind and generous, and so if you'll say in the comments below, I want one, we'll get one to you.
Yeah.
Powerful, powerful tool. And again, I didn't do this today just because we were recording today. I do it every day. And it's a powerful, powerful tool that is beneficial. And so you don't have to do it Rory's got a few other options for us, but this little tool that he's developed in personally, and before this came out, I was doing it in a binder. Yep. I've been doing it pretty darn close to a year now, and it's beneficial. You take that time. I, because of my traumas, struggle a lot in seeing the value in myself and things like that, and taking the time. And it doesn't take 5 to 7 minutes to stop and say, I am loved, I am valuable, things like that reinforce I am a loved, saved child of God.
Yeah.
Right? Those types of statements and the thankfulness, being gracious, grateful of the things that we have that we just take for granted. Like, it's just there. I have a house, and I have central air, and I have this, and I have that, and we don't stop to think, man, there's a crap ton of people in this world that don't even have clean water.
Right.
And Eric got AC, and I'd turn the faucet on, and water comes out, and it's cold if I want it, and it's hot if I want it, and all the things. Like, we have a lot to be grateful for. And so taking that time to ground yourself and do those things it's powerful. It's a great tool. So
and I would now let's turn that to the kind of in the foster space. I would say, one, it starts with you. Right? And you need to get that discipline and that practice. But how much more powerful would it be if in the morning you did that with your spouse, or at night, you talked about your day and went back and reviewed a couple of things that were in that journal. If you taught your children, right, the practice of gratitude statements, you taught them the practice of I am statements, right, to affirm themselves.
Yep.
I mean, again, I think from how do we all do life together. We are communal creatures that need to be in that space.
Yeah.
And so absolutely, my journal is a personal thing for me, but I could also be having those conversations with my spouse or with my kids.
Yeah. And so we just had some coins made that are going to start going into every placement package, and it's got our logo on it. On the back side, it says, I am valuable and loved. And the point is for kids to carry this solid coin around in their pocket as a reminder, I am valuable and loved. And because the power of that statement is immense, right?
Yes. Yeah.
And so the other tools, we talked about the 3 M's.
Yeah, so I'll go through the other 3 tools really pretty quick. Foundationally, a piece that's in every one of these next 3 tools is rest, right? So am I getting enough sleep? What word do I use? But rest, sleep, recovery time. But the next one is called the 5 S's. And so it starts with sleep. Am I getting that sleep on a regular basis? What about support, right? So that's, again, we're doing life together. So mentors, friends, family, right? Who am I surrounding myself with to be that support structure? Silence, which kind of lines back to that meditation. How often and I think at least I'm guilty. I don't know about anybody else, but I'm guilty of prayer time going, here's my list of requests.
Yeah.
But never stop to be silent, to listen, to be quiet. So very powerful on that S. Structure.
We talked about
right?
the routines.
About routines. And then stretching or motion, right? But that stretching, flexibility. When you're 20, you're probably pretty flexible. You don't need to have a practice of stretching, but the older you get, the more you ought to be doing that. Muscles, tendons, ligaments, they all need to be worked. And so what do we do in that? But those 5 S's of self-care, each one of these models has a different way that they interpret how you should use them. And so the 5 S's, it says pick 1 or 2 of those to focus on for the week, and have that as your practice for the week. And then the next week you go, maybe I do need to stay with structure. I don't have structure, I don't have that yet. But I may need to say, okay, structure's pretty good, but inside that structure now, I need to build in 5 minutes of silence, right? Where I just stop and sit. No radio, no TV, no phone, no Facebook, right? Just how am I being quiet? Very, very powerful kind of set, but on a weekly basis, picking 2 of the S's and saying, I'm going to focus on those. The third one is called the 4 R's. So I feel a little bit like a Baptist preacher right now because I've got 5 S's, I got 4 R's, I got 3 M's, right? But the 4 R's are rest, right? I mean, again, critical. Spending time in reflection, so whether that's journaling or talking to friends or just some time of reflection. Reframing would be the 3rd R. So how do I go back and look at that situation that happened this morning and it was terrible, right? And then say, how do I reframe that into what can I learn from that? How can I get better, right? 4 weeks from now, what do I want to be able to say about that situation that even though it was bad and not a great spot for me to be, 4 weeks from now, I'm going to be in a different space because I learned from that. I'm going to grow. I'm going to be in a different position later. And then the 4th one is recharge, right? So again, most often for us, that's going to be physical activity. But what am I doing to recharge, replenish, regain some strength in that space? And then finally, the 4th one is called the CARE model. So CARE, connect, awareness, rest, and engagement. So connection, again, is that how do I build that network of people that are in community with me? What's that connection? awareness goes back to self-awareness. So often we get tunnel vision and we start thinking about everybody else, but we don't take time to say, how was I, right? How did I show up?
Yeah.
Right? Yes, that person was short with me, but what did I do to generate that?
Yeah.
Right? So some self-awareness, rest, of course, and then finally engagement, to where that I'm doing activities that are other focused instead of me focused.
Yeah.
And I think the cycle that we get into can be, oh, poor pity for me, and look how bad it is. And the more I'm inwardly focused, the more that spiral can go faster.
Sure.
And so what am I doing for others? And again, great practice for family activities, children, those kind of things of, it's not all about us.
Absolutely.
What can we be doing to share with others?
Yeah.
Provide benefits to others.
Because, and I was talking about this with Serena last week with Emerald Angels, that we don't serve because we get something.
Right.
But when we serve, we get something.
Absolutely we do.
Right?
Yeah.
I mean, when you volunteer, when you deliver a placement package, I took one a couple of weeks ago, and this little 5-year-old girl, she loves Barbies. Okay. And she needed sheets for her bed. And so I went to Walmart and I got some Barbie sheets. Right?
Yeah.
This little girl was bouncing. She was so happy that she got some Barbie sheets. It was nothing. Just some sheets, and that is the placement package. Yeah, it's stuff, but it's somebody saying, I see you and I value you.
Right.
And when you do that, when you go and serve in that way, you don't do it because you want to get something. You want to do it because you want to help these kids.
Right.
But you do get something out of it.
Sure you do.
It boosts those good hormones, makes you feel good, and that you see that I'm helping somebody that's in a hard time and all the things. And so, whether it's volunteering with POCN or Amarillo Angels or becoming a CASA or however you choose to serve, when you serve,
yes,
you get something out of it.
And I think the key is when I serve in their best interest, not in my best interest.
Yeah.
Right. And so one of the most common kind of issues in, kind of society today is people feel unseen, right? That I can go through days or weeks or months and feel unseen.
Yeah.
Right. And so, a piece for me is, what am I doing on a daily basis to find one person that needs to be seen and acknowledging that.
Yeah.
Right. And so that 5-year-old girl, the key for her was that the placement package wasn't one size fits all. Right. It was something very specific that she liked, that she wanted.
Yep.
And somebody actually cared enough to take the time.
Yeah.
Right. To pick Barbie sheets as opposed to blue sheets.
Right.
Right. To pick Barbie sheets instead of just pink sheets. Right. Whatever that was.
Yeah.
Right. But you took the time so that she felt seen.
Yeah.
And I think, again, the reason why I built the tool and have the model and the framework is so that this becomes second nature and I can be more of who I'm called to be.
Exactly.
Right. And if I have the disciplines and the framework to operate within, then I can do those things. But if I'm scattered and bouncing between one thing and another, and I don't have any margin in my life, there's very low likelihood that somebody else is going to feel seen from interacting with me.
Right.
Right.
Yep.
And whether that's the checker at United or Walmart, or it's somebody that you see in the hallway every day at your office, right? What are you doing to acknowledge them? If I'm not good spiritually, mentally, emotionally myself, the likelihood that I'm going to take care of them is lower.
Much lower, yeah.
And I think the same thing is true for the space that we're in, this foster space, is that we get on the merry-go-round and don't ever slow down and stop to say, what should I be doing? I'm just doing.
Yeah, love it. Love it. Okay, so we talked about the 3 M's, the 5 S's, the 4 R's, the care model. So let's talk directly to some foster families who are they're just overwhelmed. They're exhausted. They're emotionally spent. What do you say to them?
First, I say, I can appreciate where you are, but I don't understand it completely. I mean, I can't put myself in the space that you're in.
Yeah.
Right. I mean, first, right. I mean, so any advice that I'm going to give you is going to be only from a theoretical or from a outsider's point of view, but you're doing you, right? And so your life is way harder. And we all have different levels of taking life hard, making life hard, or life just being hard, right? I mean, but we're all in one of those three at any given time. But I think for them, it's, again, like we said when we started, none of these models, none of these frameworks are, I'm going to be fixed overnight.
Right.
Right. I mean, it doesn't work that way.
No.
But what if I took 10 minutes today and was very intentional about gratitude and silence, right? To start getting structure and order back in my life. And it's a long process, and it may be slow. I mean, you are resilient, right? I mean, and you can recover, but you've got to start somewhere. If you haven't read James Clear's book, Atomic Habits, he talks a lot about, it's the 1% improvement. It's not I don't need to be 100% better today.
Yeah.
But what can I do today to get 1% better? What can I do this week to get 1% better? Because if I just get 1% better every week for 52 weeks, I mean, I'm 67% better by the end of the year.
Yeah.
I mean, holy cow. Right? I mean, how impactful would that be?
Absolutely.
Right. And so in that book, one of the things that he talks about is one of the guys that he calls out and tells the story on is a guy that said, I need to start working out. And so James Clear, his first deal was just for the first week, I just want you to have workout clothes on the chair in your bedroom the night before. That's all you need to do. Just make sure you got the workout clothes out, right? Get up in the morning, put the workout clothes on. You don't have to go anywhere. You don't have to do anything, but get in the habit of getting out of bed, putting your workout clothes on. The next week it was get out of bed, put your workout clothes on, drive to the gym. You don't go in, right? I mean, you just drive and you get to the parking lot, right? So you start establishing that habit, right? Third week is workout clothes on, drive to the gym, go into the gym, but don't work out. Fourth week is clothes on, drive to the gym, go in, do 10-minute workout, right? I mean, so small incremental improvements as opposed to going, I need to go from 0 to 100.
Yeah.
Right.
It's not possible.
It's not possible. And you're going to get frustrated or disappointed
Give
or
up.
depressed. And I'm going to go worse than I was before.
Yeah.
And so my advice to anybody that's out there is all improvement is hard. Self-improvement is even harder, right? Making personal self-improvement changes is one of the most difficult things that we can do. And so I think starting small, very incremental, but getting consistent. I mean, it's back to one of those S's, right? Structure, right? Having that framework, having that process, doing that so that, not 6 days from now, but 6 weeks from now or 6 months from now, I can look back and see what kind of improvements I've made.
Yeah.
There's another book called The Gap and the Gain. And one of the things that they talk about in there is just that we always can see where we want to go. And it seems very far off, right?
Yeah.
There's a huge gap in between where I am today and where I want to be. But the reflection piece of turning around and just looking to see how far I've come, to see what I have gained, right? And so, again, having a tool that gives me the structure and the consistency, but then also has a measurement component in there to go, am I getting better?
Yeah.
Am I doing this on a more consistent basis so that I can look back and go, no, life is not 100% under control, but it's better today than it was a year ago.
Exactly.
Right? It's better today than it was 6 months ago. How impactful can that be?
Super. So yes, we're stressed. There's tools that can help manage and mitigate the stress that you're in. Click the link, do the survey. If you want one of the books, say that you want one in the show notes. or in the comment section, and spend some time being grateful, looking back, like Rory said, look back and see where you were and where you are, and just be willing to try to do something. There's 4 different tools in here. There's lots of different ways that you can change. Take some piece of this and change. Do something better.
And the other thing I would say is that, I mean, these are all tools from a self-care perspective, right? But there will be moments in your life where self is not enough.
Yeah.
Right. And so don't be afraid to seek out professional help from a counselor, from a priest, a preacher, priest, minister, right? Any of those spaces could be where you have to be.
Yeah.
Right. And there is no sin in saying,
I need help.
I need help.
Yeah.
Because your life is important. Your spouse's life is important, but that child's life is important as well. And so you need to be the best you so that you can take care of those kids.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Rory, thank you so much for your time today. Tell folks how they can connect with you.
Yeah, so you can go to my website is westtexas.actioncoach.com. So westtexas.actioncoach.com.
And I'll put that in the show notes too.
And then I am I frequent LinkedIn the most, so from a social point of view. So Rory Shepherd or Action Coach of West Texas on LinkedIn. You could occasionally see me there on Facebook or Instagram, but more so in the LinkedIn space, just because I'm in that business space. But website's got the ability to connect with me, book a call with me, interact in a different way. If you take the survey and go, this was great, or I've got a church group or a nonprofit group or my work, this would be phenomenal for, just reach out.
Yeah.
I'd love to talk to you about it.
Absolutely. Man, thanks so stinking much for coming on. Thank you for all the work that you've helped with me. You are not alone. You're not alone. Yeah. That Coffee Connection community, we are here. We may not be here physically in front of you, but we are here with you. I'll mention Robin Goebel has another podcast called The Baffling Behavior Show. It's all the places podcasts are, and the episode from this week was all about you're not alone. You can do this. Take time, and it was kind of a mini pep talk. Pep talk is what she called it. But you're not alone. Reach out to me. Reach out to somebody in the foster care space. You are not alone. We're doing placement packages like crazy. I think we've done 40 so far this year. I think Jennifer was telling me yesterday that we had like 7 to do in the next few days. Wow. We need placement package partners. We got some funding cut. The whole Doge thing cut my salary. So we need placement package partners. You can do $100 a month. Maybe $50 buys us a case of diapers. $10 buys us an outfit. There's about 600 kids that come into care in the Panhandle in a given year. Our goal, long term, every kid that comes into care in the Panhandle, in the 26 counties, gets a placement package. We got a long ways to go to get there, and we need your help to do that. So go to our website, panhandleorphan.org/donate. Click on the button there, set up a monthly donation. Would tremendously help us do placement packages, but also do this podcast. And so thank you, Bracken, for your sponsorship of this episode. Ask for support, folks. We're here to help, and reach out to Rory on his website if you're interested in getting him to come talk at an event, talk to your church, talk to your board, whatever. He's a great resource. And don't forget, if you want one of these books, post it in the show notes or in the comments that you want one, and we'll get you hooked up.
Yep.
Thanks, Rory.
Oh, thank you, Matt. Appreciate it.
Have a great day.
You too.
Thanks.